Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi. Of course, it's a beautiful Monday morning, and we'll be starting off with the papers, starting off with Vanguard, and the main headline says, weekend abduction, protest rocks KATSINA over abducted 333 schoolboys. You can see that on page 5. The writer says that 333 students still missing, says Governor Masari. KATSINA orders indefinite closure of schools. My 12-year-old son among students still missing, grieving parents cries out. PDP slams federal government over alleged use of tear gas on parents of KATSINA abducted parents. Archbishop Martins task Buhari on lives welfare of citizens. Replace service chiefs now. Methodist prelate tells Buhari. UNICEF condemns abduction. 10 children held captive presidency. Also, we have on page 29, SGF Mustapha goes into isolation as family members test positive for COVID-19. Stories above, we have terror in Oyo as gunmen kidnaps 2 foreigners, kills a PDP Chieftain security guard. You can see that on page 6. And on page 9, PIB Senate exposes how staff of Petroleum Ministry paid self 145 million naira media campaign fund. On page 10, Vanguard wins Day Nutrition Reporting Award for 2nd year. On page 9, stop issuing dry press statements on PDP, PGF, DG tells the Bunise committee. Also on page 29, Irefi, 18 generals test positive for COVID-19. And we have like an infographics of bank income from forex trading jumps 114% to 145 billion naira. You can see inside of Vanguard. And away from Vanguard, move straight to the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch, we have main headline, KATSINA mass abduction, outrage over Buhari's failure to visit school. 333 still missing, says Governor. The writer says it's shocking Buhari is in KATSINA and can't visit Kankara, says Nigerians. Parents protest. PDP alleges tear gas attack on protesters, flees federal government. Our focus is to resolve students' abduction, not politics, says presidency. Stories above, 20 generals test positive for COVID-19, SGF in isolation. You can see that on page 11. Stories beneath, we have Senate to review 2014 Confab ABC restructuring report. You can see that on page 19. On pages 4 and 5, suspected ritualists abduct mothers, Kogi hunchback. And away from the Punch, we move straight to The Nation. And on The Nation newspaper, we have main headline, Governor, no contact yet from abductors of 333 pupils. The writer says, Defense Minister, service chiefs in KATSINA on rescue mission. Women protest. We have forest interventions gives false hope on Naira, says IMF. You can see that on page 6 of The Nation newspaper. Stories above, we have on page 39. Joshua calls out Fury after beating Pulev, plaudits for champions. On page 8, 774,000 jobs to take off January 5th, says Minister. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, government firms raise 2 trillion naira from capital market. And that's what we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. We're moving into the newspaper analysis segment. I have 2 important guests in the studio. But join us after this break. We'll be right back. Face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi, and I have 2 important guests in the studio joining me to talk about the front pages of the papers this morning. I have with me Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher of the page today. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join me.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Alright, I also have Mr. Ali Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, as well as former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join me.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very well. Let's move straight to the front pages of the papers, and it's still the protest, and as a result of the incident that happened on Friday, and people are talking about it. The fact that also the president is at KATSINA, and still nothing from him. He hasn't come to see the affected parents of Kankara local government area, and a lot of things have been happening. We've been battling with insecurities, issues, and my question will be going to you, Mr. Ali. What do you think of the recent development of insecurity going on?
It is disturbing. I must confess to you that the initial figure that we got was that over 700 children were taken away into captivity by the bandits, but now we heard that maybe they recovered some of the children, and the figure now stands at 333. I have some questions, because since the incident happened, I have been wondering how those children were taken away from the school. That you have to transport, let's even say 333 children, not 700 now. How did they manage to transport them? Which buses? They must have had up to 20 buses. In KATSINA, with heavy security issues, with soldiers patrolling everywhere, and at a time that the commander-in-chief is in that state. It is sad. And I think what they are trying to do is to send a strong message to the president that the country is not safe. He too is not safe. That is the truth of the matter here. Because it is so daring that bandits will go to KATSINA at a time the commander-in-chief of Nigeria is there. It is worse that the president has not even gone to at least check and update himself with the situation of things in that place. So I don't know what to do now. The president has the powers to keep the service chiefs, but it is obvious that the service chiefs have seriously exceeded their usefulness in this government. There must be a change in tactics, information gathering within the military. We must invest in modern equipment to gather information. Do you know that America, the security agents that came to rescue the American here, they were there and they got enough security about the location of these bandits and the American that they kidnapped. They were talking with the Nigerian authorities, giving them vital information on how to move, and they eventually came, and they did not miss the targets. That is the importance of information gathering. You don't just take your Hercules and start bombing. No, you must bomb with precision, and to be precise, you need serious equipment to gather. You can stay in Lagos and get information about locations in Katsina. You don't necessarily have to be there. You can be in Abuja and get information about the movement of people in Katsina with modern gadgets. So we really need to sit down and rejig the processes of resolving this banditry in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Dai, let me come to you now. People are of the opinion that the government is refusing to do anything about the security situation. Looking at, for example, there have been talks about state policing, about restructuring, about changing the country to true federalism. What do you think of the situation?
Thank you, Precious. I don't necessarily think it is accurate to say that the government is not interested in doing anything about the insecurity situation. I don't think any responsible government will sit back on its oars and be satisfied with the fact that its citizens are getting slaughtered and not feel any compunction or feel any sense of responsibility towards addressing that situation. Now, it's possible that there are initiatives or their ideas are outdated or ineffective or incompetent, but I do think that they've been taking serious looks at what to do to address the situation, but so far none have been effective. So, as my co-guest said, the government needs to look at alternative ways of addressing this issue, whether it relates to changing the service chiefs, which there's been a public outcry for months and months and months. And I've been one of the proponents who has always said, look, the presidency knows things about national security that the public is not privy to. So for him to be obdurately holding on to the security chiefs, there must be something about them that he knows that we don't know. But it's gotten to a point where something needs to change. And as you've reeled out an array of possibilities from state police, I mean, look, for example, like Amotekun, that was brought up as local security agencies. And we've been seeing some of the things they've been doing lately to try and combat local outbreaks of violence. So perhaps we need to extend those kind of arrangements. You mentioned restructuring, you mentioned community policing. At this point, all options are open. The government needs to be open to all kinds of ideas. And as my co-host said, co-guest said, there's issues of information gathering, there's issues of technology. People are using drones now that are not manned, so there's no risk to human life. And they can use that to oversee. For example, how do you move 333 kids without any, in a state that is riven with insecurity. So they've got checkpoints, they've got police presence, army presence all over the place, and yet you're able to move 300 kids from one location to another without being detected and without being apprehended. That speaks to the serious lapses we have in the security architecture. At this point, we probably need to collapse the whole thing and rebuild it from scratch.
All right, Mr. Aliyu, let me ask you, according to Gani Adams, one of the things he mentioned as a result of the insecurity challenges we've been having, he says that it's a leadership structure, and that's the problem we have. Do you agree with him?
I don't. You see, I have said it here a couple of times, that the problem with the security apparatus set up by the Southwest governors is greed. Unfortunately, the man that you are quoting is not saying the truth. The truth of the matter is that some people who are local heads of these security people that Amotekun is recruiting want specific payments from the governors, and they want some monthly payments apart from the salaries of the people that will be co-opted into the Amotekun Corps, and the governors are drawing back. You know that the economy is not too good now, so you have to be careful how you allocate large sums of money to individuals, and it will not become a problem to you in future. That is it. Because some of us are close to the arrangements that is going on about them, and that is why Amotekun has not fully taken off, especially in the states that the governors have openly launched Amotekun, Oyo State and Ondo State. That is the problem they are having. They said some people want payments in millions, not in hundreds of millions, not small money. They want to be paid every month. That is apart. It is greed. For God's sake, we must have leaders that will be selfless for once in Nigeria. Otherwise, we are not going to make progress. The same greed is part of the problems of the insecurity you are talking about. You have yearly votes for equipment. Those equipment are never bought. If they are bought, they are never fully bought. You have millions, billions of naira going into private pockets. So for once, we must have leaders that are not greedy. We must have leaders that are not selfish. We must have leaders that have the interest of the people they are leading at heart. You know, for as long as, again, the problem of impunity, people will embezzle money, they will be charged to court, and when they get to court, they faint. You know, because they want to avoid punishment. We must begin to punish people for the offenses that they commit. If you do that, you are going to check corruption, you are going to check greed, you are going to check banditry. You can imagine in that KATSINA state, they have this program for repentant Boko Haram members. Why must all those people have taken the bloods of innocent people, and you are pardoning them? I think those people should be dealt with according to the law. Once you toy with the law, the people also will toy with the law, and they will go scot-free.
All right, Mr. Daya, do you think that the issue surrounding insecurity has to do with a leadership structure?
Without a doubt. I mean, the presidency is the commander-in-chief. The governors are the chief security officers of their state. At the end of the day, security is the responsibility of the government. In fact, it's one of its primary responsibilities to the citizenry. So if it's not going well, we have nobody else to blame but the leadership. Now, in terms of the structure, I know that in other countries, policing is very, very localized, and it is effective and efficient at that level, primarily because The security operatives are usually from the local community. They know the people, they speak the language, they are neighbors to the people they oversee. Information is supplied to them relatively easily. So things flow much better when security emanates from a local level going upwards to the central. So yes, perhaps the structure is a bit faulty, and maybe we need to anything at this point needs to be looked at that can help to mitigate some of these problems. It's clear to everybody that the way it's being done now is not working.
All right, still speaking about insecurity, now over the weekend in Oyo State, PDP Chieftain, that's Dr. Patai, was gruesomely murdered by suspected headsmen. Also, we had a security guard that was hacked to death by armed robbers. And in the same vein, we had 2 foreigners who were confirmed to have been kidnapped in Ibadan. Now, all this happened just last week, and still last week we had Malami insisting that the president's regime has recorded a tremendous success in containing the incessant bombing and killings, in his regime. Now, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Ali, what do you think of this statement?
Well, if Malami claims that the government has achieved a lot, let him list those achievements in the midst of the myriads of killings in Oyo State, in Katsina, in Yobe, in Yola. I don't know what achievements this guy is talking about. Maybe those achievements we don't know. They, like he said, they know a lot of things that we don't know. Because they will tell you, if you talk about achievements, they will tell you that Abuja was bombed a few times and now it has stopped. But Abuja alone does not constitute the entity called Nigeria. So we have to be careful when you see, when you need help, honestly come out and request for help. Not that you start putting up fake achievements and all that. It is obvious that the government needs help. And what I expect us to do as a nation is to declare an emergency in the security area of our country, bring back old retired people still with their brains intact, not the people that are too old to even think. We still have some retired army generals who fought. Some of the generals that we have today have never fought a war. They just rose through the ranks and became generals. And so those who participated in the Nigerian Civil War, those who participated in wars outside Nigeria, should be brought to the table and let them share experience with the soldiers that we have today. I have a friend who is a major general. We always tease him that you are a general that has never fought a war, and he will laugh, and that he will tell you that they are always praying for peace, so that he will retire without fighting a war or killing somebody. Then if you are a general and you have not fought a war, you don't have the full experience of a war situation, and you are posted to areas where you have banditry. Which experience are you going to apply? And so we must be careful here. They should bring together these so-called generals and take tutelage from retired generals that participated in wars, because I can see a lot of deficiencies in the way they are tackling. Government is trying, you understand, but a lot of things must go into it. Like I said, intelligence gathering. That is very, very important. It is lacking. And we are not investing in modern equipment. Modern equipment. Do you know that in some countries, they have a monitor that monitors every part of an area? Once there is an accident, you don't have to phone anybody. An ambulance and a rescue team will just take off and go to the precise place where that accident happened.
All right.
So that is the importance of information gathering now We have to, I keep saying it, we have to invest in it. In Lagos, for instance, as big as Lagos is, I can tell you that we don't have monitors. And that's why people commit crime and they go scot-free. You see somebody knocked at my door, say, if we have a monitor, that camera will pick that person and policemen will go after him immediately. We must invest in modern gadgets that will give us precise information about all these criminal activities.
All right, in response to what Mr. Ali is saying, Mr. Dai, I'd like to ask you, do you think we should declare a state of emergency?
At no time in the history of Nigeria, other than the Civil War, have we ever had it as bad as it is now from the standpoint of insecurity. Matter of fact, I venture to say that this is probably even worse than what we experienced during the Civil War. Yeah. So I would say that a state of emergency is well overdue. I think martial law should be declared in the areas where things are going out of hand at this point in time, and all liberties should be removed from all those areas that allow these insurgents to operate freely and above board. Now, the idea of bringing in help cannot be overstated, because it's clear that the government is in over its head. So wherever help can be gotten from experienced, retired security personnel, anywhere where we can get the kind of help that will stop this. As it is now, Nigerians are not at peace. We don't sleep well at night. Nobody can confidently say that their mind is at rest. That is not a good state of affairs. Governments, even constitutionally, government has two responsibilities to the citizens: security of life and property, and seeing to the welfare of its people. If our lives are not secure and we don't have the peace of mind that our lives and property are safe, then our welfare cannot be said to be well.
All right, moving on, let's talk about something quite interesting on the papers too, and that Senate has exposed a Petroleum Ministry management staff in Ministry of Petroleum paid 145 million naira media campaign on petroleum industrial bill to himself. Now, the question, we've been talking about insecurity, we've been talking about greed, and now we're talking about corruption. What's your take on this situation, Mr. Dayo?
When I read that story, what was funny to me was the justification that came from the ministry, where they said, and they said, the member of staff that actually gave the contract to himself is somebody who has experience in that field and has connections in the media, and as a result, it was beneficial because he has been a blessing to the service, and as a result he was. And I thought to myself, what impunity! I mean, we're talking about corruption, there's procurement laws. How can you have a conflict of interest to the point that you actually award a contract to yourself? But even if he did that, how does another staff of the ministry now justify it? Did they share the money? So I'm flabbergasted that it could even happen. And as Mr. Aliu said earlier, we need to start punishing corruption. That's why the first step should be to rejig the judiciary. Because we see AFCC inviting people, interviewing people, detaining people. We see people charged to court, but we don't see punishment. And as long as the viewpoint, the mentality now is, once they take me to court, as long as I slump and I say I'm not feeling well, the case can go for the next 25 years. I mean, I can give you a myriad of lists of people who've been indicted for corruption, but we never saw the end of the process, and we never saw them get reprimanded. People need to know that there are consequences for bad action.
All right.
This is
really funny.
You already know. You see, the truth of the matter is that if we don't punish people for the offenses that they commit, we will continue to have the kind of situation that we have at NNPC. A man who stole 145 million is ready to give 40 million to the police, to any investigator, and they will look the other way. He will never get punished. That is the problem we have here. Impunity will breed corruption, it will breed banditry, it will breed all sorts of evils that you can ever think of. Look, go to the highways in Lagos, you see cars driving against traffic and nobody is doing anything. All we hear on the radio and newspapers are people, hundreds of people that have been arrested but are not punished. At the end of the day, some people will take all of them to the office and they will pay some money and be free. Yes. We cannot continue to operate this way. For as long as we allow impunity, we will continue to have situations where people will steal billions and nothing will happen. And let me draw your attention to one thing. You have the EFCC, you have the what is it again? All these anti-corruption agencies.
SFU.
Yes, special fraud unit. The fact is that in the penal code, there are prescribed punishments for stealing of government funds and all sorts of corrupt practices. If we fully implement the content of the penal code, you don't need the EFCC. You don't need the EFCC. You don't need any special anti-corruption agency to investigate people. What do we have at the EFCC itself? Somebody will be investigated for 1 year. Look at Maina. He ran away. He was brought back, put in detention. He was granted bail and passed through security agents, customs, immigration, and ran to the jail. There must be some collaboration in the case of Maina. So for as long as we have this kind of situations, we cannot effectively fight corruption. It will continue to rise. The cases we are having will continue to rise. And I can bet you in the next 1 week, you may not hear about the theft at NNPC again. It would have gone underground. So if we run a country like this, you are not breeding good citizens, because an average young man will look at corruption as a way of life and he will grow up to be a corrupt person. We are not helping the children we are breeding. Because a child that knows that his father has stolen 145 million and nothing happens to him will believe that it is a normal way of life, and he will follow that path till he will also graduate as a real criminal in this society, and you will start running after him. So we must sit down and decide what we want to do about impunity as a nation. So that's my opinion. I pray God will help us, because we always end up praying to God on every issue. Even when you are supposed to take actions. Go abroad, for God's sake. I believe that if you live abroad, your prayer requests, the type that you have in Nigeria, will reduce. Because there are things that you don't need prayers to happen. Normal, basic way of life. But here you wake up, pray, NEPA, God, don't let NEPA take life today. Do you need prayer, any prayer for that? So we have to sit down and decide what exactly we want to do with our country.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Daya Kintobi, publisher of the Page today, and Mr. Aliyu Mohammed, former editor of Daily Times and Concord, also CEO of Magnet Communications. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We would have loved to talk about other things, but our time is fast spent, and the issues with corruption and insecurity is a whole lot this morning. All right, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media handles showing on your screen. As well as you want to find out up-to-date stories, you can go on our website www.vanguardindia.com to find out more. Until I come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukudi, and thank you for watching.
Vanguard. I want to use this opportunity to welcome our great leader, the leader of Eastern Security, in the person of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu of Abducted. Mustapha, just working. 10,111 days. Forward on parade.
Face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.